Hi everyone, welcome to the Bridge Initiative. Today, the topic of the video is positive Pakistan. Pakistan as a country is often caught up in a very negative portrayal and narrative in the media. Irrespective of whatever positive things happen in the country, the news which seems to be getting the coverage is the negative news. So today I'm going to give you a bit of perspective around the country, about the country, and also tell you why we as Pakistanis, we feel the country is going places, why we feel that there are positive things happening and what's driving that bright future for the country. So this is a country of 220 million people. This is bigger than Brazil and somewhat smaller than Indonesia in terms of sheer population. Pakistan has more people than the entire Arab world combined. This is an ancient land. This is Indus civilization. This is the birthplace of Sikhism. This is the place where Buddhism matured and went into China. This is the land where you have cities like Lahore, which was the capital of the Mughal Empire at some point, the same Mughal Empire which built the Taj Mahal. It has a very warm, its people are warm, culturally rich, who produce beautiful drama, music, and poetry. Uh, it has surprisingly vibrant media. It has requirements for minimum representation of women in the parliament. It is a country which allows transgenders identity cards, which allow showing their correct genders. It has a country which, despite being 97% Muslim, has um has had the chief justice who was a non-Muslim and has had non-Muslims in senior positions of power in the government. Um, Demographically speaking, the country is about 40% urban, 60% rural, and probably going to be majority urban in a decade or so. 40% of the population is below the age of 35. Per capita incomes are around $5,500, which have risen by 50% in the last decade or so. Um, it is a multi-ethnic, multi-religious country with and also multilinguistic, with six major ethnic groups spread across the vast plains of Punjab, Sindh, Balochistan, and KP provinces. Um, why I feel increasingly positive about Pakistan is because there are a few things which have happened in the last few years which would really sort of help, it would help accelerate the growth and development of this country. Number one, the country is now today more institutionally stable than it ever was in its history. For the longest times, the Pakistani state institutions were playing this musical chairs whereby you had military governments followed by civilian governments followed by military governments, and with lack of policy planning, lack of long-term vision, and that seems to have been settled somewhat in the favor of civilian governments. We've had one civilian transition, democratic transition, a few years ago. Second one is about to happen next year, and this augurs very well for the country because it means that irrespective of everything else, things will happen in more or less the way you expect them to happen. Uh, the unknown factors, which have been very large in terms of Pakistan in the past, are becoming less and less relevant. Um, so we're pretty much becoming like any other normal developing country from that perspective. Um, Number two, security situation in Pakistan has rapidly improved in the last 3 4 years. Post 9/11, we had a big blowback in terms of terrorism incidents rising in the country. That has now been controlled to a large extent in the last 3 4 years. The level of terrorist violence has gone down by 70 80%, and that has allowed a new sense of optimism to emerge in the country. Has allowed people to uh, look at the future of this country more positively. The third big driver for Pakistan going today is that the country always lacked large-scale foreign investments, and it was primarily because of the bad image we have had in the international media for whether right or wrong. The Chinese have come in a big way to invest primarily on the infrastructure side in Pakistan in the last few years. So as of today, they have north of $100 billion committed in terms of loans and equity in Pakistan. Their aim is to connect Western China through Pakistan to the port of Gwadar on the Arabian Sea, and allow for Chinese energy supplies and trade to pass through this corridor. So they are investing in a big way in the road infrastructure, the rail infrastructure, and then big chunk. of the investment is going into the power sector. Pakistan has been facing chronic energy shortages for the last few years. Next few years, we expect to overcome this energy shortage. So we have been facing a situation where 2-3% of the growth rate has been shaved off every year for the last decade because of the lack of power available in the system. So with these Chinese investments coming in, one, the supply chains are going to become a lot more, optimal. Number two, power shortages are going to go away. Number three, large Chinese state corporations and private sector companies will come into Pakistan or expected to come into Pakistan and set up industrial clusters as labor costs rise in China. A lot of this industrial capacity, a lot of manufacturing capacity is expected to start shifting to countries like Pakistan, especially with the Chinese connectivity and trade with the trade routes. So overall, um, Pakistan, which has been growing around 4-5% per annum, which is still very respectable given how the world has been in the last few years, is expected to accelerate this growth from 4-5% to 7-8% to 9% in the coming decade. And some of that is going to come from Chinese investment. Some of that is going to come from the fact that power availability is not there, and some of it is going to come from the fact that the country is now a lot more stable than it was before, and there is institutional continuity. So there's increasing predictability about government policies. There is predictability about what's going to happen tomorrow. So overall, we feel that the big question marks which were always there behind and slowing down Pakistan's progress are sort of slowly going away. And that's why I am very positive about Pakistan. I feel the country has a bright future in the medium long term.